First thing to understand is that something I actually didn't know till I became an assistant secretary at state. The administrations, traditionally, I don't know going back to how long, keep former presidents briefed. So people go and they brief former presidents. And I was I briefed George Herbert Walker Bush a number of times. And so briefing Jimmy Carter was a sort of a natural thing to do, although there was something special. We knew that Jimmy Carter had been in touch with the North Koreans, and we knew, or I think we knew when I went to Plains, Georgia, that he had an invitation. So I went down to Plains one day, and former President Carter and Rosalind were in their house, and they were very kind, and I had lunch, and I had pie, and I had peanuts, and it was terrific. But I also had 3.5 hours or so of briefing. And I think you remember that Jimmy Carter not only, quote, was a nuclear engineer, close quote, but was proud of that fact. So there was a lot of detail in exactly what was going on. One of the things that struck me was his capacity, and I think he does this instinctively, to see the other side. And he took the North Korean side in a lot of the briefing. And it's disconcerting because you're talking to a former president of the United States and he is arguing and pushing back on our interpretation of events from a North Korean perspective. But I think that speaks well of him, and he's done that in other situations. He's able to feel this. The one point, though, that stunned me a bit was when I said that when he asked specifically what we were trying to stop, we said, we'll certainly want to make sure there's no reprocessing capability in North Korea. And that research reactor is a gas graphite mounted reactor. It's a production reactor. It's for plutonium. It's not connected to anything. It's a weapons program. And we have talked about helping them get a light water reactor program more appropriate for true energy as opposed to weapons. And he said, well, what right do we have to tell the North Koreans what style reactor they have and what reprocessing plant they have? And I was sort of stunned. And my best recovery was, well, when I went into government in 1974, you were soon after that elected president, and under your administration, the United States of America took the position that we opposed reprocessing plants in countries like North Korea. And it has been since then, with some bumps through the Reagan administration, that we've taken that position. You framed it for us, Mr. President. Okay, I mean, he got that, and we just rolled right on. But I think that was more of him just pressing. I don't actually think he forgot that this happened before. When I got back that night, and I missed my plane coming back, it was a long day in planes, I called the White House, and I think I talked to Tony Lake or Sandy Berger. I can't remember which right at the moment, but I talked to one of the two, and I said, my guess is, and I gave him a debrief on the day, and I said, my guess is that he's going to want to take up the invitation and go to North Korea. My recollection is the very next day, he talked to Vice President Gore and said, I'm going to North Korea. And then the question was, well, what's our position on that? And somebody pointed out he was a private citizen. And, there were certain legalities here. Someone else pointed out he was a former president of the United States, that he had a peace maker reputation. He was at the Carter Center and all this, so that it seemed implausible that the administration could say, no, don't go, or you can't go. And the question was, how do we make lemonade at this point? So the idea was that we wanted to make sure he didn't take a position that either was inconsistent with our position or boxed in President Clinton. So the way the administration hit upon doing this is that Tony Lake, who had worked for Jimmy Carter, Tony had been director of the policy planning staff in the State Department during the Carter administration. I had worked for Tony on that staff. And that Tony Lake would meet with Jimmy Carter and his small entourage, including Rosalind, and as we say, explain the facts of life. That really, Mr. President, this is our position. This is why we have this position. If we'd appreciate it if you'd support this position. Appreciate it if you wouldn't undertake any independent negotiations. That was the kind of message. There's no nice way to do that to a former president, and I'd say Tony did it about as good as could possibly be done by a human being. It was still a very tough meeting. We had it at National Airport. Dan Parneman and I were there to kind of pick up pieces and stuff. And then immediately after that meeting, the arrangement was that Jimmy Carter and his team would come to my office at the State Department, which they did. They sat on a long couch, and I brought in all afternoon briefers from the intelligence community and the Defense Department, the State Department, to make sure that President Carter understood the context, the risks, where we'd been, where we want to go, and what the deal was.